Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal, and just the other day we got our very first glimpse at some of the hero towns coming out with the next World of Warcraft expansion of The War Within. Hero towns are kind of like a subclass for your current playstyle, and some of these hero subspecs will be shared between multiple class specs at a time. Most of the hero towns will be used to modify existing talents and abilities in new and unique ways. While a huge majority of the hero towns will be passive abilities, some will be active, with plenty of choice nodes for you to pick from. But all of these talents will be able to transform known skills and abilities with additional mechanics that add even more depth to every single class spec in the game. And yesterday, we got our very first preview to some of the hero towns coming out in The War Within, specifically the Sinlane Vampiric Death Knights, the Chrono Warden Evokers, the Lightsmith Paladins, as well as the Mountain Thane Warriors. And in today's video, I wanted to showcase all of these new hero towns, as well as provide you guys some of my early thoughts on what I think about them so far. All of the talents you see in today's video are still very much a work in progress, as we don't even have the beta or alpha access to The War Within just yet. And all of these hero towns will likely see a ton of different changes by the time that the new expansion is released. So by no means are these talents, the passives, or anything you see in today's video are going to be the final product that any of these classes will be able to experience by the time expansion launches. And everybody is encouraged to give their feedback about the hero talents and the work in progress so far, so feel free to leave all your thoughts and feedback in the comments of this video down below. Lastly, if you want to catch more videos and updates on The War Within, feel free to subscribe to the channel, since most of you guys watching these kinds of videos are still not subscribed. First things first, let's start off with the class of Death Knight, which is getting access to the hero towns of the Sinlane, which are described as Death Knights who have mastered the vampiric arts of the Dark Fallen. Their endless hunger helps protect their allies while strengthening all of their attacks. The Sinlane hero towns will be available to the specs of Unholy and Blood Death Knights, and will mostly focus on modifying abilities such as Heart Strike and Scourge Strike into a Vampiric Strike, where Death Coils and Death Strikes have a 10% chance to make a next Heart Strike or Scourge Strike a Vampiric Strike. Vampiric Strike will heal you for a portion of your maximum health and will grant you Essence of the Blood Queen, which will increase your haste by a set amount for 20 seconds. This Vampiric Strike can then be further modified with a variety of talent options, like Visceral Regeneration, where Heart Strike and Scourge Strike have a 3% chance per stack of Essence of the Queen to refund a rune, with Vampiric Strike doubling that chance of refund. With Frenzied Bloodthirst, Essence of the Blood Queen can now stack 2 additional times and increases the damage of your Death Coil and Death Strike by 5% per stack. Inside Terror allows Heart Strike and Scourge Strike to extend the duration of Essence of the Blood Queen by half a second. Vampiric Strike increases that extension by 100%, which likely means that Essence of the Blood Queen cannot be refreshed, but rather needs to be re-ramped back up every 20 seconds that you lose the buff. With The Blood is Life, Vampiric Strike has a chance to summon a Blood Beast to attack your enemy for 10 seconds. Each time that Blood Beast attacks, it stores a portion of its damage dealt. When the Blood Beast dies, it explodes, dealing half of that damage accumulated to all nearby enemies while healing the Death Knight for the same amount. Defensively, you can also pick up Blood-Soaked Ground, where while standing in Death and Decay, your physical damage taken is reduced by 5%, and your chance to gain Vampiric Strike is increased by 5%. The Capstone talent of Gift of the Sinlane will modify your Scourge Strike or Heart Strike into a Vampiric Strike while Dark Transformation or Vampiric Blood are active, which will also increase the effectiveness of Essence of the Blood Queen Haste by 100% while replacing your Heart Strike and Scourge Strike with Vampiric Strike for its duration. The Sinlane talents will also offer 3 choice nodes for you to pick from. The first is a utility choice node between Newly Turned and Vampiric Speed. With Newly Turned, Raising allies will revive them with full health bar, while also granting them an absorption shield for a portion of their health. Or Vampiric Speed, where Death's Advance and Wraith Walk will increase your movement speed by 10% extra, and activating Death's Advance or Wraith Walk increases the nearby movement speed of allies by 20% for 5 seconds. A defensive choice node of Vampiric Aura will increase your leech by 3%. While Lichborn is active, your leech amount is increased by 100% and also affects 4 nearby allies, which is amazing for dungeon content. Bloody Fortitude allows Icebound Fortitude to reduce all damage you take by an additional 30% based on your missing health. Killing enemies that grant honor or experience will reduce the cooldown of Icebound Fortitude by an additional 3 seconds. The offensive choice node will be a Sanguine Scent, where Death Coil and Death Strikes have a 15% chance to trigger Vampiric Strike when damaging enemies below 35% of health. and it's guaranteed to critical strike. While Pact of the Sin Land will allow you to store 50% of all shatter damage you deal into your Blood Beast to explode for additional damage when the beast expires. To me, it looks like the Sin Land hero talents are going to greatly increase your overall survivability, which will help out Blood Death Knights and Unholy Death Knights in PvE but also in PvP content. The extra additional utility such as leech or movement speed provided to your allies I think is a nice touch. And the whole interaction between Vampiric Strike and summoning a Blood Beast, or a Vampiric Strike that consumes your diseases, or even a Vampiric Strike that provides you additional haste, I think will allow for excellent synergies with the base Death Knight toolkit, and I cannot wait to see what other hero talents Death Knight specs like Frost and Blood will gain access to. Up next we have the class of the Evoker, where both Augmentation and Preservation are getting access to the Chrono Warden hero talents. Chrono Wardens manipulate time to see into the future, and will specialize in bronze magic, which is highly unstable due to all of the knowledge that it possesses, and their gameplay will reflect this unstable nature. Starting with the first talent of Chrono Flame, where Living Flame is enhanced with bronze magic, repeating 15% of the damage or healing dealt to the target in the last 5 seconds as arcane for a fixed amount. From there, they gain a mobility talent of Warp, where Hover will now warp you through time and space, and its cooldown is reduced by 5 seconds. Which sounds like Hover may act like Mage's Blink in the War Within. Hover will also continue to still allow the Evoker to use spells and abilities while on the move. Talents like Temporal Burst allow Tip the Scales to overload you with temporal energy, increasing your haste and movement speed and cooldown recovery rate by 2%, ramping up to 40% over 20 seconds. Threads of Fate allows casting Essence abilities during this temporal burst to cause nearby allies to gain Threads of Fate for 15 seconds, granting them a random chance to echo their damage or healing spells for 15% of that amount. Then we have talents such as Reverberations, which amplifies your empowerment abilities, where both Spirit Bloom and Upheaval deal additional 30% healing or damage over 8 seconds. With primacy, for each of those damage or healing over time effects from either Upheaval or Spirit Bloom, you gain 3% haste up to 9%. With Instability Matrix, every time you cast an empowerment spell, Unstable Time Magic will reduce its cooldown by up to 15 seconds. With the capstone of After Image, empowerment spells will send up to 3 Chrono Flames to your targets. Chrono Flames have a small chance to grant you Essence Burst as well. Chrono Wardens will also have access to 3 choice nodes, such as Master of Destiny or Golden Opportunity. With Master of Destiny, empowerment spells will amplify all of your active Threads of Fate, increasing their power by 100% for 8 seconds, stacking up to 2 times. While Golden Opportunity will amplify Prescience or Echo to have a 25% chance to either not incur a cooldown or not incur an essence cost. Careful Contemplation will increase your intellect and stamina by 10%, but your cooldowns are increased by 10% also, while Time Convergence allows abilities with a 45-second or longer cooldown to grant you 10% intellect for 15 seconds. Defensive abilities will also grant you 10% stamina for 15 seconds, and Essence abilities will extend the duration of these effects by an additional second. The utility choice node will be Interdimensional Phase, where Warp will reduce the damage taken by 30%, starting high and reducing over 2 seconds. Or Modes of Acceleration, where Warp will leave a trail of modes of acceleration for your allies to grab, who will gain 20% movement speed for 30 seconds when they interact with the modes. Overall, they're really leaning into the unstable nature of the Chrono Warden and focusing on the buff mechanics that are shared between the healing and the augmentation playstyles. This talent seems to be heavily leaning towards a support build, which allows both of these specs to support their allies in a variety of different ways. Up next we have the Paladin Lightsmith hero talents, which will be available to both the Holy and the Protection Paladins. Lightsmiths are paladins who have mastered control over the light to such a degree that they're now able to wield it, to either empower their own weapons or their own defenses. And the Lightsmiths paladins gain access to a unique ability of Holy Armaments, where up to now, the first ability in the hero talents has been a passive. They actually get an active ability, where they will the light to coalesce and become manifest at a target location as a Holy Armament, either as a Holy Bulwark or a Sacred Weapon. These weapons can be wielded by either you or an ally and will alternate between the Holy Bulwark or Sacred Weapon. These weapons last for 20 seconds after being cast, and they have maximum of 2 charges, which allows you to drop both a bulwark and a weapon at once. While wielding the Bulwark, gain an Absorb Shield for 15% of your maximum health, and an additional 5% every 2 seconds, stacking up to 30%. While wielding a Sacred Weapon, your abilities and spells have a chance to deal additional holy damage or healing. These armaments can also be further modified with Solidarity, where if an ally picks up an armament, you also gain its benefits, but if you pick up an armament, a nearby ally will also gain its benefits. With Laying Down Arms, when an armament fades from you, the cooldown of Lay on Hands is reduced by 15 seconds, and you also gain Shining Light or Infusion of Light based on your playstyle. With Valiance, consuming Shining Light or Infusion of Light extends the duration of an active armament by 3 seconds and reduces the cooldown by 3 seconds if none exist. Shared Resolve allows the effect of your auras to be increased by 33% on targets with an armament. With Hammer and Anvil, Judgment critical strikes cause a shockwave around the target, dealing additional holy damage or healing at the target location. While the Blessing of the Forge, which is your capstone talent, allows Avenging Wrath to summon an additional Sacred Weapon. And during Avenging Wrath, your Sacred Weapon casts spells on your target and echoes the effects of your Holy Power abilities. Lightsmith Paladins will also have access to 4 choice nodes compared to the other classes we've looked at today. Lightsmiths will gain access to a new weapon imbuement mechanic, either with Rite of Sanctification, where they imbue the weapon with Power of Light, increasing the armor by 5% and the primary stats by 1%, lasts for 1 hour. Or Rite of Adjuration, while imbuing your weapon with the Power of Light increases your stamina by 3%, while causes your Holy Power spenders to sometimes unleash a burst of healing around a target. You can augment your resources with Divine Guidance, where for each Holy Power ability cast, your next consecration will deal additional holy damage or healing split across all enemies up to a fixed total. Or Blessed Assurance, where casting Holy Power spenders increases the damage and healing of your next Crusader Strike, Blessed Hammer, or Hammer of the Righteous. For utility, you have Fear No Evil, where while wielding an armament, the duration of fear effects is reduced by 50%. Or Excoriation, where enemies within 5 yards of Hammer of Justice target are slowed by 15%. Talents like Divine Inspiration will allow your spells and abilities to have a chance to randomly manifest an holy armament nearby. Or Forewarning, which allows you to reduce the cooldown of holy armaments by 20%. Lightsmith Paladins sound like an augmentation version of a Paladin, which allows them to buff their allies' effectiveness with weapons and shields to either protect them or increase the overall output. I'm a big fan of the support playstyle. Whenever I play Protection or Holy Paladin, I try to support my allies as best as possible, especially in smaller group content like Mythic Plus Dungeons, and it feels like Lightsmith Paladins may be the perfect Paladin spec in order to play into the smaller group gameplay, but can also be just as useful when it comes to their performance in raid content, especially if the right party members with the most amount of damage pick up some of your armament weapons. The final class to get a first preview of some of the hero talents will be the Warrior, with both Fury and Protection getting access to the Mountain Thane. Mountain Thanes embody the strength of the mountain and the power of the storm, as they channel thunder and lightning as well as reinforce their own bodies to become an unstoppable force. All Mountain Thanes will begin with Lightning Strikes, where damaging enemies with Thunderclap, Revenge, Raging Blow, or Execute has a 10% chance to also strike down those targets with a Lightning Bolt, dealing a bit of nature damage. Lightning Strikes occur 50% more often inside of the main ability of Avatar. Call of Thunder will empower Protection and Fury with different effects. For Protection, Storm Strike and nature damage of abilities is increased by 5%. Storm Strike will also ignore enemies' armor, and Thunderclap damage is increased by 50%. For Fury Warriors, Storm Strikes and nature damage is also increased by 5%. Storm Strikes also ignore armor. The talent of Thunderclap is heavily encouraged, with the damage increased by 50%, and it now generates 5 rage. Improved Whirlwind and Meat Cleaver will also empower Thunderclap as well as Whirlwind. Using abilities such as Shield Slam and Bloodthirst all have a 20% chance to grant you Thunderblast, stacking up to 2 charges. With Thunderblast, your next Thunderclap becomes a Thunder Blast, which will deal pure Storm Strike damage. With the capstone talent of Avatar of the Storm, casting Avatar will grant you 2 charges of Thunderblast immediately and resets the cooldown of Thunderclap. While Avatar is not active, all Thunder Strikes have a 10% chance to grant you Avatar for 4 seconds, which further reinforces the use of Thunderclap as a very basic ability. Lastly, with talents such as Ground Current, all Lightning Strikes will now deal additional damage to all enemies nearby your current target. With Strength of the Mountain, Shield Slam, and Bloodthirst and Rampage damage are all increased by 20 or 10%. And with Burst of Power, Lightning Strikes now have a 20% chance to make the next 2 Shield Slams or Bloodthirst have no cooldown. Mountain Thae Warriors will also have access to 4 choice talent nodes, starting with Gathering Clouds, which allows you auto attacks to trigger Lightning Strikes 15% more often, or Thorum's Might, where Lightning Strikes will generate Rage, where Revenge, Rage and Blow, Execute damage are all also increased by 15%. We have a defensive node between Steadfast Peaks and Keep Your Feet on the Ground. Steadfast Peaks allows Victor Rush to increase your maximum health for 5 seconds, while Keep Your Feet on the Ground allows Thunder Blast to reduce the damage that you take for 4% for 5 seconds. In the utility row, we have Storm Shield, where intervening to a target grants him a shield for 5 seconds that absorbs magic damage equal to 3 times your armor value. Or Stormbolt, which allows Stormbolt to hit 2 additional nearby targets, stunning them for 2 seconds. With the talent of Flash and Skies, chance for lightning strikes to critical strike is increased by 5%, and the critical strike damage is increased by 10%. Or Valajar Training allows lightning strikes to reduce the cooldown of Ravager by half a second. Overall, the Mountain Thae class talents really embody the use of Avatar as well as Thunderclap as part of your basic gameplay, while also amplifying additional nature damage all around your targets. The playstyle also offers some natural defensive value as well as some group utility, but it does really lean into the Storm Strike elements to either fuel you with additional resources or even more damage. And for now, this is going to be everything we have on some of the upcoming hero talents arriving with the War Within, and I'm pretty sure that over the next few weeks we'll continue to see additional previews for some of the other hero talents for all of the other classes that weren't featured in this most recent update. As per usual, if you guys enjoyed this video or found it informative, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. I would very much appreciate it. And as always, in the description of every single video and live stream, we have a link to our Discord community channel. Probably the best place to reach out to me directly in case you want to let me know what you thought about this video or hang out with the rest of the community to discuss some of the upcoming changes. Join our Discord to become part of the community. But otherwise, thank you all so much for watching this video. I do hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know all of your thoughts down below. And as always, I'll see all of you guys in another video.